The Dark Knight returns. Once upon a time, Superman and Batman were the best of friends. For decades, they were seen side by side, smiling on the covers of comics, working together to fight crime and save the world. Superman with his incredible powers and sunny personality, and Batman with his unmatched intelligence and dark, brooding nature made the perfect team. Their friendship was the heart of the DC universe, showing that light and dark could work together for the greater good. But this changed in 1986 with a comic called The Dark Knight Returns. In this story, Bruce Wayne, now 55 years old, had hung up the Batman cape for good after the tragic death of his second Robin, Jason Todd. Gotham City had fallen into chaos, and its crime was uncontrollable. Superman, who had been working for the government, was now being asked to deal with this retired Batman fighting crime again. But things weren't as simple as they seemed. Superman didn't want to hurt his old friend, but Batman had been preparing for this day. He knew the government would eventually send Superman to take him down. The two heroes met in Gotham. It wasn't long before they clashed. Still, the hero, Superman, wanted to talk things out, but Batman was ready for a fight. Batman, wearing a special suit designed to boost his strength and protect him, was prepared for whatever Superman threw his way. They fought fiercely, with Batman using everything in his arsenal, from missiles to grenades to a sonic weapon that gave Superman a nosebleed. But even with all of Batman's clever tricks, Superman remained nearly unstoppable. Superman, though, wasn't ready to destroy Batman. He held back, trying not to hurt him too badly, but Batman didn't give him much choice. With his power suit and careful planning, Batman used a piece of kryptonite, Superman's weakness. This moment weakened Superman, allowing Batman to land some severe blows. But just as Batman seemed to have won, something unexpected happened. He collapsed from a heart attack. In a surprising twist, Batman's death wasn't actual. It was a plan to make the government think he was gone for good, so they'd stop worrying about him. Superman, realizing this, quietly agreed to keep the secret. Batman and his allies continued fighting crime in the shadows, unseen by the world. But outside of the Dark Knight Returns story, the dynamic between Superman and Batman had shifted. After the comic, Superman started to see Batman less as a friend and more as a vigilante who sometimes crossed the line. Batman, in turn, grew wary of Superman's potential for destruction if he ever went rogue. Their friendship didn't end, but it became more complicated. They learned to trust each other again, but now they understand each other's methods and limits. In the end, their bond remained strong but different. They still fought side by side, saving the world, but with a deeper understanding of each other's strengths, weaknesses, and the fine line between justice and vengeance. And that was the legacy of their complex relationship, a friendship tested but never broken. The Dark Knight strikes again. In The Dark Knight Strikes Again, Batman has gone underground after his victory over Superman in the first series. He and his sidekick Carrie Kelly, now known as Catgirl, train an army of young heroes to fight against a corrupt government led by Lex Luthor. The government has taken control, forcing many superheroes like Superman, Wonder Woman, and Captain Marvel to work for them, using their powers for the government's twisted agenda. Batman, however, isn't giving up. He's secretly freeing heroes who've been captured and imprisoned. Heroes like the Atom, Plastic Man, and Green Arrow join his cause. They raid government facilities and gain people's support, inspiring a new generation to rebel. Batman's mission: to overthrow the oppressive regime that has taken control of the world. But Superman, working for the government, doesn't take kindly to Batman's actions. He's ordered to stop his old friend and former ally. Superman, still believing in justice, but now under the control of Lex Luthor, confronts Batman at the Batcave. Once the best of friends, the two heroes find themselves on opposite sides. Superman is reluctant, but his loyalty to the government pushes him to fight. Batman, however, is ready. With his new team of heroes and a series of clever strategies, Batman overpowers Superman. He uses everything at his disposal, gadgets, tactics, and sheer willpower to defeat the Man of Steel. Even though Superman is more vigorous and faster, Batman knows how to outsmart him. With help from his allies, Batman lands the final blow. After the battle, things get even more intense. A vast alien monster attacks Metropolis, and Superman fights it, but he's secretly manipulated by Brainiac, who wants to destroy the people's faith in heroes. Captain Marvel dies, but Superman is saved by his daughter, Lara, who destroys Brainiac's monster. With the government now after her, Lara joins Batman and his team. Together they form a plan to take down Lex Luthor's dictatorship. Superman, Wonder Woman, and Lara help Batman by pretending to surrender, which allows the Atom to break into Brainiac's bottle and free the Kryptonians. With the power of the combined heroes, they destroy Brainiac and Luthor's satellite weapons. But the victory doesn't come without sacrifice. Batman allows himself to be captured and tortured by Luthor, who plans to kill billions using satellites. But Green Lantern, now with godlike powers, destroys Luthor's weapons, and the son of Hawkman kills Luthor. When things seem to be over, Batman faces his old sidekick, Dick Grayson, who has been turned into a monstrous villain. The battle between Batman and Grayson is brutal. Batman, with his unwavering determination, defeats Grayson in a showdown. He destroys the Batcave and sends them into a fiery crevasse, but Superman saves him at the last second. Batman and Carrie survive, and the fight ends with Batman's victory. Ultimately, Batman's victory over Superman and the corrupt government shows that even in the darkest times, a hero can rise and change the world. Batman. Hush. Once upon a time in Gotham, something unusual happened. Superman was forced to fight Batman under the influence of Poison Ivy's neurotoxin spores. Superman wasn't entirely himself. His mind was clouded, but his body was still strong, so much stronger than Batman's. Even though Kal-El was holding back, his strength made him a terrifying opponent. Batman, ever the planner, wasn't about to let that stop him. He didn't have much time to develop a strategy, but he had prepared for this moment. A unique kryptonite ring was hidden in his utility belt in case Superman lost control. As Superman attacked, Batman ran, using every trick in the book to outsmart the Man of Steel. The intense fight, but Batman knew he couldn't win through brute force. He needed to tap into Superman's humanity. Batman used his sharp mind to strike at the heart of Superman's emotions. He endangered Lois Lane, knowing that Superman's love for her would be his weakness. As Superman's mind wavered between the poison and his protective instincts, the Man of Steel began to fight back, struggling to break free from Ivy's control. In the end, Batman emerged victorious, not because he was more substantial, but because Superman's will to protect those he loved broke through the poison's hold. Batman stood tall, the fight over, but only because Superman had been holding back. It was a win, but a complicated one. Later, a new challenge arose. Batman had just rescued Edward Lamont IV from the clutches of Killer Croc, who had kidnapped the boy for ransom. But while Batman was busy, Catwoman took the ransom money for herself, meeting up with Poison Ivy. It was clear something wasn't right. Catwoman seemed strangely under Ivy's control. Batman chased Catwoman across the rooftops, but something unexpected happened before he could catch her. His Batline was cut, and Batman fell to the ground, knocking him unconscious. Huntress arrived just in time as he lay there, saving him from the thugs who were closing in. She helped him return to the Batcave, but the mystery of who cut the baseline remained unsolved. Poison Ivy and Catwoman plotting something bigger. Batman's victory over Superman was only the beginning of an even more dangerous game. Superman, Red Sun. In a world where Superman's pod crashed in the Soviet Union instead of Kansas, Kal-El grew up as a powerful Russian military commander. With his strength and abilities, he turned the Soviet Union into the most dominant power on Earth, ruling with fear and control. However, not everyone agreed with his harsh ways. In Superman, Red Sun, Batman does not technically defeat Superman in a typical battle, but he plays a key role in the story's conclusion. In this version of the story, Batman is the leader of a resistance group, trying to overthrow Superman's regime. One of those people was Batman-Koff, a man whose parents were killed by communists. Fueled by revenge, he trained himself to take down Superman and the oppressive government he served. His chance came when he devised a clever plan to weaken the mighty Kryptonian. Batman-Koff tricked Superman into entering a room with solar lamps that emitted radiation similar to Krypton's Red Sun. The moment Superman stepped in, he started to weaken, his strength fading fast. Batman-Koff took advantage of this, overpowering him and beating him into submission. For a moment, it seemed like the Russian Batman had won. But Superman wasn't finished. Wonder Woman arrived just in time to save him, and the battle was far from over. Fearing Superman's wrath, Batman-Koff, unable to live with the consequences, ended his life by triggering an explosive device implanted in his chest. A victory, but a tragic one. Justice League, War. In Justice League, War, a dangerous new threat arrives on Earth. Darkseid, a powerful villain from the distant planet Apocalypse, sets his sights on our world after a mishap caused by the Flash. His plan is simple: conquer Earth. This sets off a series of events that brings together a group of heroes who must learn to work together to stop him. The story begins with a series of strange kidnappings happening around Gotham City. Batman is on the case, but he's wrongly blamed for the attacks. While investigating, he teams up with Green Lantern to stop a creature called a Parademon. They chase it down into the sewers, where they find a mysterious device called a mother box. It has an extraterrestrial origin. They decide to seek out help from Superman. Superman, however, isn't exactly on their side at first. He believes Batman and Green Lantern are working with the Parademon. A massive battle breaks out between them, and it's clear Superman's power is too much for Batman and Green Lantern to handle. The fight stops when Batman calls Superman by his real name, Clark Kent. Realizing they're both on the same side, they agree to join forces. Meanwhile, in a lab, a young man named Victor Stone is caught in the explosion of another mother box. The blast fuses the technology inside the box with Victor's body, turning him into a cyborg. He soon discovers that Darkseid's invasion is the beginning of a much bigger plan to terraform Earth. As the Parademons attack, Billy Batson transforms into the mighty hero Shazam, adding another influential member to their team. The heroes come together to face Darkseid and his army, but it's not easy. Darkseid is powerful, using his Omega beams to overpower Superman and Flash. With a broken arm, Batman holds back Green Lantern from going after Superman, urging him to think of the lives at stake instead of his own image. Batman shares the painful memory of his parents' deaths, explaining why he fights evil. Batman sacrifices himself by allowing himself to be captured, hoping to save Superman. In a heroic moment, Green Lantern realizes the way to defeat Darkseid is by destroying his eyes, which control the Omega beams. Batman is then sent to Apokolips to rescue Superman, who has been brainwashed and is acting aggressively. After a tense moment, Batman helps Superman break free from the mind control, returning him to his true self. Furthermore, the Justice League faces off against Darkseid in an epic battle on Earth. They destroy Darkseid's eyes with teamwork and determination and force him and his army back to Apokolips through a boom tube. Darkseid is defeated and Earth is saved. In the aftermath, the world's heroes gain the public's trust. They're honored by the president at the White House. Despite his quiet nature, Batman has proven that even in a world of superpowers, he can hold his own. In a post-credit scene, we see Ocean Master, an Atlantean, vowing revenge for the death of his king. With the world at peace, new threats are already on the horizon, but the Justice League is ready for whatever comes next. Injustice, Gods Among Us. In the Injustice, Gods Among Us story, things take a dark turn when the Joker sets off a nuclear bomb in Metropolis, tricking Superman into killing Lois Lane and their unborn child. Devastated and broken, Superman decides that the only way to stop such chaos from happening again is to take control of the world. He appoints himself as High Counselor, ruling with an iron fist and forcing others to follow his way. However, not everyone agrees with his new world order. Batman, who once fought alongside Superman, can't stand seeing his friend become a dictator. He believes in freedom and justice, not in Superman's totalitarian regime, so Batman leads a rebellion called the Insurgency, hoping to restore liberty and stop Superman's reign of terror. One day, Superman arrives at the Batcave, determined to end Batman's resistance. The two powerful heroes clash in a brutal fight. Superman, using his incredible strength, easily overpowers Batman. Painfully, he snaps Batman's back over his knee like Bane did. Superman has a decisive victory. But just when it looks like Batman is finished, Alfred, Batman's loyal butler, steps in. He uses a unique pill made of nanotech that grants him temporary superpowers. With a burst of strength, Alfred headbutts Superman, surprising him and giving Batman a chance to escape. Alfred rescues Batman, taking him out of the Batcave and away from Superman's grasp. Superman's plan to crush the insurgency is delayed, but the war isn't over. Batman's victory, though brief, proves that even against overwhelming odds, the will to fight for justice can still prevail. While Superman continues his rule with an iron fist, Batman and his team of rebels keep fighting to bring freedom back to Earth. Ultimately, Superman's quest for control leads to a divided world, but Batman's bravery and determination show that hope is never truly lost. Even if Superman is the most powerful hero on Earth, Batman's spirit inspires others to stand up against tyranny. Batman Endgame. In Batman Endgame, a twisted story unfolds when the Joker poisons the Justice League, turning them into his deadly hybrids. Each member of the League, including Wonder Woman, Aquaman, and the Flash, attacks Batman one by one. But the Dark Knight isn't backing down. He faces each hero, using his mind and strength to fight them off until only one remains: Superman. Now, under the Joker's control, Superman is a shadow of the hero he once was. No longer the symbol of hope, he's a a rampaging force, his powers unchecked. To face him, Batman dons special power armor, replacing his usual kryptonite gloves with gauntlets designed to handle Superman's immense strength. Batman battles the insane Man of Steel, taking a brutal beating under the Red Sun's powers. Superman launches a destructive barrage in a final showdown, causing chaos and endangering innocent lives. Batman, barely holding on, comes up with a last-ditch plan. He spits a small piece of kryptonite-laced synthetic polymer, essentially kryptonite gum, right into Superman's eye. The kryptonite weakens Superman enough for Batman to win, but Batman isn't celebrating. As Metropolis lies in ruins, Batman points out that nobody indeed won. The fight wasn't just between him and Superman. It was a tragedy caused by the Joker's poison, turning allies into enemies. Though Batman survives, the battle leaves him physically and emotionally drained. The victory, while significant, doesn't bring any joy. Batman knows that true victory lies not in defeating his friend, but stopping the chaos that tore everything apart. Batman vs. Superman, Dawn of Justice. In Batman v Superman, Dawn of Justice, the two iconic heroes face off, not because they want to, but because they're forced into it by the villain, Lex Luthor. Lex kidnaps Superman's mother, Martha Kent, and tells Superman he has 1 hour to kill Batman if he wants her to survive. Desperate to save his mother, Superman tries to reason with Batman, but it doesn't work. Batman sees Superman as a dangerous alien who needs to be stopped and is ready to use his kryptonite spear. The battle is intense. Superman punches Batman through buildings, and Batman fights back with kryptonite gas grenades, weakening the Man of Steel. With the advantage, Batman can strike a deadly blow with the spear, but just before he can finish the job, Superman begs him to save Martha, his mother. This shocks Batman because his mother is also named Martha, making him realize that Superman is just like him, a man with loved ones to protect. At that moment, Batman hesitates. Lois Lane arrives, explaining the full situation, and Batman understands that they've both been manipulated. He decides not to kill Superman, sparing him in the end. Batman could have easily won, but he changed his mind after realizing their bond. The fight ends, but it's not a true victory for either hero. Batman could have killed Superman, but he chooses not to, seeing Superman as more human and less of a threat. This fight wasn't about strength, but understanding each other and realizing there's more to them than meets the eye. I hope you liked this video, then like it and subscribe to the channel for more amazing DC comics.